All right, let's jump right in. When we talk about leadership, we usually think about strategy, right? Execution, results, all that good stuff. But what if there's this hidden dimension, a silent force that really determines what a team can and can't achieve? Today, we're going to explore how leaders can become designers of one of the most powerful forces in any organization, its mood. You've all heard this one before, right? It's pretty much the golden rule of the modern workplace. The whole idea that to be effective, to be a real leader, you have to sort of check your emotions at the door and just operate from a place of pure, cold logic. But what if that idea is just plain wrong? What if ignoring the emotional reality of our teams is actually the biggest, most expensive blind spot we have? That's the big, provocative question we're going to dig into right now. So to understand why we even think this way, we've got to look back a bit. Our whole professional culture has this deep-seated bias against emotion, and believe it or not, it comes from a really powerful intellectual tradition. For literally hundreds of years, the big idea has been that reason is king. And yeah, we can thank philosophers like Descartes for that. In his world, emotions weren't just, secondary. They were seen as these messy, disruptive things that just get in the way of clear thinking. So when leaders try to operate from this rationality-only playbook, they're basically working with an incomplete toolkit. It's like trying to build a house with only a hammer. You end up misreading the room, you misinterpret why your team is acting a certain way, and pretty soon trust starts to break down and innovation just disappears. Okay, so to build a better toolkit, we first need to get our language straight. We tend to use the words emotion and mood like they're the same thing, but they are fundamentally different, and that difference changes everything. So an emotion, it's a reaction. It's a short-term biochemical thing that happens in your body. It's been called a chemical record of past experiences. Think of it this way. Something happens, good or bad, that just interrupts your flow and suddenly changes what feels possible. That immediate flare-up, that jolt, that is an emotion. In this little chart here, it breaks it down perfectly. An emotion is triggered by a specific event, and it's fast. It might only last a few minutes. We're totally aware of it. But a mood is different. It's more of a background state that can just hang around for hours or even days. And here's the real kicker. You don't just notice a mood, you live inside of it. We like to think that we have moods, but as the philosopher Rafael Echeverría puts it, it's often way more true that our moods have us. It's like they possess us. They become the filter through which we see the entire world, and they shape every thought and action, often without us even realizing it. And check this out, this process builds over time in what's called the emotional cascade. It starts with that fleeting emotion, right? If you don't process it over a few days, it can harden into a mood. If that mood sticks around for months, it becomes a temperament. And over years, that can actually crystallize into a core part of someone's personality. It's wild, a tiny reaction can literally end up shaping an identity. So if we're living inside these incredibly powerful moods, how in the world are we supposed to navigate them? Well, what we need is a new map. A framework for actually understanding this hidden emotional landscape. And this is the absolute game changer from Fernando Flores. He said, our mood isn't just a reaction to what happened in the past. It's an assessment we are making about our future. Think about that. You feel bad after a mistake, not because of the mistake itself, but because of your assessment of what that mistake means for your future. Your mood follows the story you're telling yourself about what's next. And this insight gives us this really powerful map with 6 basic moods. Now notice the 2 key columns here. Orientation is the mood all about the past, the present, or the future. And then there's action space. Does this mood expand what you feel is possible, or does it contract it? So let's look at the contracted moods first. You've got resentment, which is this poison that just keeps us stuck in the past, blaming other people. But resignation can be even more dangerous for a team because it's silent. It's that quiet, creeping belief that nothing you do matters anyway. And it just suffocates a team's potential from the inside. But then, on the flip side, you have these incredible, expansive moods. Ambition is that energy of forward movement, It's the fuel for taking on huge challenges. And then there's wonder. This is the secret ingredient for real innovation. It's that state of genuine curiosity where you admit you don't have all the answers, which is the only place where real learning can actually happen. Okay, so we've got our map. We understand that moods are basically assessments of the future. The next step is a huge radical reframing of a leader's job, moving from being a victim of moods to becoming a designer of them.
And here's the best part. This is where it gets really practical. Moods aren't just floating around in your head. They exist and they're kept alive across 3 distinct, interconnected domains that you as a leader can directly influence.
These are your 3 levers: language, body, and emotions. And a change in one will always ripple through the others. Think about it. If a leader starts using the language of possibility, that's language, they might find themselves standing taller, speaking more confidently, that's body, which in turn helps create a feeling of optimism in the room, and that's emotions. See, they're all connected.
And this quote just nails it. The ability to shape the mood of a group isn't some fluffy, soft skill. Echeverría argues it's one of the core, fundamental competencies of what it means to be a leader. Leaders are, at their very core, mood architects.
So, let's bring this all together. Let's build a practical toolkit you can actually start using right away. How do you practice being a mood designer?
It really comes down to this simple but incredibly powerful loop. First, just observe. Get curious. What's the mood in the room right now? Second, identify. What are the stories, the assessments about the future that are feeding this mood? And third, design. What new conversation can you start? What action can you take to help shift those assessments?
And this is probably the most important takeaway of all. This isn't about trying to be happy all the time or faking positivity. The goal is to develop the skill to see moods for what they are, to take responsibility for them, and to intentionally design the emotional climate that the situation really calls for. So, I'll leave you with this final thought. Whether you're aware of it or not, your actions, your language, your very presence in a room, it's all shaping the emotional reality around you. So the only real question left is, what mood are you designing today?